What up, what up? Welcome to the 23rd episode of the Intersect Project podcast. This episode in particular deals with Chuck versus the DeLorean. A solid episode all around. We get a little Sarah backstory. We get a little Morgan being childish as usual. And we get Awesome being angry. Awesome, not awesome, with a decision. So, let's once again, thanks for all those who have listened. I put out a tweet the other day. We are under 150 downloads till we hit 1,000 total downloads, which is awesome. And if we could do that by the 25th episode, or if we could do that with the 25th episode, like I guess before the 26th episode, that would be awesome. Because that means there's a 40 downloads, exactly 40, average of 40 downloads per podcast episode, which is an amazing number. So let's keep climbing those views up. Share the podcast with everybody you know and love, because I'm teaching the important things. Chuck. So let's like I said, thanks everybody who's listened. Hope you've enjoyed as much as I've enjoyed making them. So let's dive right into the episode. Chuck versus the DeLorean. So here at the Intersect Project podcast, we like to start off each episode with the song of the episode and hit of the episode. So we'll dive in. We'll do song of the episode first. I like music. You probably like music too. With song of the episode, there were some pretty good choices, but I narrowed it down to the winner. And that winner is Diamond Hoo-Ha Man by Supergrass. Interesting title for a song. Interesting title for a band. Great song. It is it's a wonderful song. I really enjoyed it. It's catchy. It's smooth, and I just don't see anything wrong with it. So, congratulations, Supergrass. Your song, Diamond Hoo-Ha Man, is Chuck versus the DeLorean's song of the episode. Now we go to hit of the episode. Now with hit of the episode, we have a little bit of a problem. That problem being, nobody actually hits anybody, like, straight up. So what we do now is we go to who has the coolest shoot, bang bang, shoot 'em up stuff. And that is pretty fun. But you can't... I mean, it's not the same as hit of the episode, but I gotta do what I gotta do. So I have personally decided for hit of the episode that I'm going to give it to Sarah for shooting her dad in the shoulder. That's the hit of the episode, when she shoots her dad in the shoulder, which is messed up, but with that family, you never know. So there you go. And it's a lot of fun. But who knows? Who knows how that affects their relationship? I'm sure he loved getting shot in the shoulder, but I'm not here to judge. So, there you have it. Even though there's no hitting going on, and even though Casey killed a couple dudes, Sarah shooting her dad in the shoulder is the hit of the episode. Because why not? Because why not? So, if you're keeping track at home, here's a score update for the season. Hit of the episode score update for season 2. We have Sarah Walker running away with it right now at 7. We have Chuck at 1. We have Big Mike at 1. And we have Casey at 1. So is anybody going to take Sarah? Knock Sarah off the pedestal? Or is she just going to continue to demolish everybody? We'll find out as we go along. So, now that we've covered hit of the episode and song of the episode, let's dive right into this baby. Alright, so as we begin the episode, we open up with a flashback to the 1990. A beautiful time, the beginning of the 90s, grunge, teen angst, everything you can think of and more. The greatest generation. Not really. I was born in the 90s, so I'm a little biased. But there you have it. 90s best generation. Best decade. So, but we get to see a side of Sarah that we not really seen. We saw a little bit of it when it was implied that her dad was a con man in an earlier episode, Chuck versus the Cougars, I believe. We see that she's moved around from high school to high school because her dad is a con man and he got arrested. Well, now we get to see what her father looks like, not only, but and that he has been instilling these ideas in her since she was young, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. So we get a glimpse into what Sarah's childhood was like, scamming people and eating Rocky Road ice cream. Scamming people, eating Rocky Road ice cream. Sleeping, scamming people, Rocky Road ice cream. You know, the three things that you do, obviously, when you grow up. So it comes as no shock as to why Sarah didn't really talk about her dad. Or doesn't really talk about her dad that much. But anyway, we come back to the beginning, and Sarah is super busy. She says she cannot go on a fake date with Chuck. She has got a personal thing to deal with. And Chuck's trying to figure out what it is. Now, before we go to Team Bartowski, let's cover the buy more. Or not necessarily the buy more, but the buy more / Awesome and Morgan. So, Morgan and Anna are still dating. We haven't seen them in a while dating, but they are dating still. So, Morgan's trying to get freaky deaky in a theater room because he's a voyeurist, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. But that's what he's doing. That's what he wants to do. He wants to get freaky deaky in the theater room. And Anna is having nothing of it. She doesn't want to do it in the theater room anymore, and they definitely can't do it at Morgan's place because his mom's always there, and they can't do it at Anna's place because she lives with 3 other roommates. So obviously, the next logical step is that they move in together. Now, to Anna, this may sound like a great idea, but she's got to remember she's dealing with Morgan, the man who has yet to grow up. He's learning, but he is yet to grow up. Now, and he is a commitment phobe, big time commitment phobe. He's not feeling it. Now, to move in together, they're going to need a lot of dough, which Morgan does not have. But he goes to see Awesome for advice. Now, he wants Awesome to tell him, hey, you shouldn't move in with her yet. You're moving too fast. But Awesome gives him the exact opposite speech. He's like, yeah, it's time for you to grow up. This is an important step in your relationship, and I feel you should do it. Well, this is when Morgan goes, well, I don't think I can do that. I don't have the money. I don't have anything like that. And so Awesome's like, hey, we'll loan it to you. No big deal. Consider it an investment in your future. Bad idea, Awesome. Morgan does not want to commit to Anna. He wants to do other things. Well, Awesome gives him the money anyway, and he's supposed to pay him back with interest as a loan type deal. So Morgan goes back to the Buy More with full intentions on saying, all right, Anna, let's move in together. But right before, just in the nick of time, somewhat, depending on which side of the situation you're on, he is distracted by one Jeff and Lester, and they want to show Morgan something that looks super important. So they take him back to the garage, and what's in there? A DeLorean, a 1981 DeLorean. You know, the DeLorean. I'm sure most people who listen to this podcast are nerds like me, which is not offensive. I'm not being offensive. Nerds are cool. but I'm assuming you're all nerds like me, and you've seen Back to the Future, and you know what the DeLorean is. Now, if some off chance you have no idea what I'm talking about, the DeLorean is a vehicle from the Back to the Future franchise, and if it travels 88 miles an hour, you can go back in time or forward in time, obviously. But so Morgan's like, "Hey, this is a part of my childhood. This is a big deal." So what does Morgan do? He buys the DeLorean. He buys the DeLorean. It can't run over 22 miles an hour, or it stalls, and it's just an all-around crappy car. But he buys it. Even gets a personalized license plate that says D. Morgan. So obviously, Awesome, when he gets wind of this, is not happy, not happy at all, and he is going to take it out on Morgan. He is gonna beat him up, T to B. And Anna also wants to beat him up from T to B because, well, he took the money that was supposed to go to their apartment and used it to buy a DeLorean, which is a crappy investment, once again. So obviously they're super angry at Morgan. But he, like I said, he's not into commitment. So he got the DeLorean instead. And so he's driving the DeLorean, picking people up, stuff like that. And he lets Chuck borrow it, and it ends up getting stolen, as we'll learn in Team Bartowski. In Team Bartowski's section. And so now Morgan gets Blue Book value for it being impounded. Now, he says that he's going to get Blue Book value, which he says he's going to have enough to pay back Awesome and have 10 large after that. I don't think the Blue Book value for a DeLorean is $12,000. I could be wrong, but I would almost bet money that it's not $12,000. The Blue Book value is not $12,000. So they're kind of just being a little absurd at that point, but hey, I didn't write the show, I just enjoy the show a lot. So that's and obviously Anna overhears this. Guess who wants to live together now? Guess who now has to buy an apartment for them? Morgan. Yeah, because he has all this extra money. Yeah, Morgan. Before Morgan. Thanks to that, though, now Chuck doesn't have to spend his entire savings to pay back Morgan's loan. So that's nice. That does it for the Buy More / Morgan Awesome segment. So let's dive right in to Team Bartowski. Now, as I was saying before, Sarah's doing something personal, and Chuck wants to know because Chuck really likes her and is obsessed with her a little bit, obviously. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's obsessed with her. So, what does he do? He follows her to figure out what she's doing because he thinks it's a date and he wants to know who she's dating. Well, he sees the man at the hotel where Sarah lives. Okay, I'm going to go off on a small tangent here. And this is just me thinking out loud here, but why has no one said anything? Why has no one seemed suspicious that Sarah's just been living in a fancy hotel room for a while under the cover that she works at an Orange? Now, I don't know how much a typical frozen yogurt person would make, but I don't think it's enough to afford to live in a fancy hotel. You'd think someone would be like, you think someone would just put two and two together at this point going, well, she's got to have money coming from somewhere else, because it seems like she's the only one working at the Orange also. And if she's off on missions all the time, who's running the store when she's not there? It's just, I'm thinking out loud here, and it's just circling through things. It's a plot hole, obviously, but I'm just trying to figure it all out. Why no one's thought, well, she probably doesn't make that much money. How is she affording this hotel? And then they're going to put two and two together and go, oh, the government's paying it. What does she do for the government? Oh, she's a spy. I don't know. Just straight up thinking out loud. It just seemed weird that no one ever says anything that she's just living in a hotel. Well, anyway, so Chuck follows him to the restaurant, and he's in a perfect disguise, hat, newspaper, at least at the hotel he was, hat, newspaper, sunglasses, peering over, old spy, whatnot. Well, when he gets to the restaurant, he's sitting at the table, menu in front of his face so she doesn't see him, except she's got GPS on him. Come on, Chuck, that watch, the watch you wear, GPS. They gotta keep track of you. Or your phone, honestly. Phone, watch. They're keeping track of you at all times. So she's gonna know you were there. And she notices that he's there. So she walks over there, and he tries to do the old menu back up in front of the face. Like she's not gonna notice that. So she goes over there and talks to him, and Chuck's all like, wow, this guy's really old. He's a terrible person. He flashes on him, obviously. He's like, he's a terrible person, doesn't know what he's doing, going to die. Not going to die, but he's a terrible person and whatnot. And he overhears, and we find out that it's actually Sarah's father, and he's just in town visiting. So, obviously, Chuck feels bad about this, but he sits down to dinner with him, and talks. He finds out a little about Sarah and her past, and they also find out why Sarah's dad is actually in town. Now, Sarah's dad is in town because he just conned a Saudi prince out of $750,000, $750,000, and he did this just because he's a con man. This is what he does. So dinner ends, they go on their way, and Chuck at this point is really concerned about Sarah and her dad. The relationship doesn't seem very good. He just seems to blow in on a job, and they don't seem to really care for each other. Now, the CIA wants to use this new knowledge that Sarah's dad conned a Saudi prince out of money to find the Saudi prince's bank accounts so they can freeze his assets. So now the CIA is involved in what they're going to do. And they have to do it at this point. So they go to dinner again to discuss how they should finish the con job. So they talk about it. They're like, nah, nothing's going down. We're not going to do anything. And then they finally convince him to do the job. And when they finally convince him to do the job, they separate for the evening, and the Saudi prince arrives. And now it's time to think on their feet, because the Saudi prince is here for his building, and he wants it. So they have to make up a name. They have to make something up. Mr. Liechtenstein. Jack is just the third-party candidate for Liechtenstein, the sale of the building. And so he just pawns off Liechtenstein. Well, the Saudi wants to meet Liechtenstein. So they have to think on their feet. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? So he says Sarah is Mr. Liechtenstein's assistant, and he's not here. Well, they're not buying it. So Chuck does something that, once again, just brightens us up with that ingenuity, and he he does the whole thing from that Michael Caine did. I can't remember what the movie's called, but Michael Caine's like, they're like, Mr. Liechtenstein, and he holds his hand up without looking, claps his hands, snaps his fingers to get the info, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty good homage. Well, so they have a deal. They're going to meet tomorrow, and they're going to sell the rest of the building or whatever. So CIA at this point is really interested. They want in. They want this deal to go down, and they need $10 million so they can track the accounts. So they track the accounts and stuff. Or they put together the team. Casey's now on the team, and they're discussing in the orange their plans, and they finish. And at the end, Sarah randomly winks at Chuck. Now, obviously, you can say this is just something she did because it was funny, or you can just say it's a one-time thing. I think it's just more evidence of she's falling in love with him. Or, well, she is in love with him at this point, but, just more evidence backing it up. So they go in to the top floor of the building, and they send Casey as a security for the building, and they say they're fumigators, and then they come back and they home makeover the crap out of that building. They transform it from some dumb company to to Liechtenstein headquarters in like 2 or 3 minutes tops. 2 or 3 minutes tops. So the Saudi prince comes up, and they speak with Mr. Liechtenstein, and they were going to have Sarah translate, but guess what? The Saudi prince thought ahead and brought his own translator. So now Chuck has to speak English because obviously he doesn't know any German, and he uses his Alan Tudyk German voice. Now, if you don't know who Alan Tudyk is, he was on a show called Firefly, and I mean, you probably know who he is because I'm assuming the people who listen to this podcast have watched Nerd HQ in the previous years at some point, and you know that Zach Levi and Alan Tudyk are super good friends. So if you've ever heard of Alan Tudyk, he does a lot of voices, and his German accent is it's almost exactly like Zach's in this episode of Chuck. So I thought that was pretty cool and interesting tidbit. So it's I thought that was cool. But obviously the people who were in the office originally, they do not have any fumigation scheduled, so they're heading back up in what is easily the longest elevator ride humanly possible. Like the 5-6 minute elevator ride, which boggles my mind. Well, anyway, after some roadblocks, they finally get the Saudi prince to, pay the money for the building, and they get his account number. Except when they go back to the hotel, they find out that Sarah's dad did not wire the money to the CIA. And we also, found out that the Saudi prince knows that it was a scam. And so Sarah's dad runs off. He knows where the money is. And the Saudi prince kidnaps Sarah's dad and is holding him for ransom for that $10 million. And so obviously they're looking for the money because the Saudi prince will kill Sarah's dad. Well, on happenstance, Chuck was going to give Morgan all his money to pay back Awesome, and he finds out that Sarah's father put the $10 million in his account. He is now $10 million richer, and he doesn't know what to do with the money. So they tell him to keep it there, and he thinks that's a good idea, and I think that would be a good idea because that's a lot of interest per day. Like a couple $1,000s interest per day. That's that's some stuff right there. That's pretty awesome. So I mean, that interest though. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of interest. I would totally be down to just, hey, I'll hold on to it. No worries. No worries. I'll hold on to it. So Casey and Sarah go to meet up with the Saudi prince to get Sarah's dad back, even though they go separately without. So they go separately. Sarah is about to hang 10, but or not. Well, and by hang 10 I mean she's gonna shoot some people, but she doesn't know about the sniper. Well, that's when Chuck pulls in the DeLorean with the computer in hand, ready to transfer the money. And that's when they transfer the money. He transfers the money back to the Saudi prince, and that's when Casey and the CIA get the account numbers. So then Casey goes up and they try to play it off like he was a treasurer and this was all a setup, and Saudi prince ain't having any of it. So then we have the shootout at the Decent Corral. the shootout at the OK Corral on top of a roof parking garage in downtown Los Angeles. So obviously Sarah shoots her dad, like I said earlier, in the shoulder. Casey kills a couple bad guys, and then the Saudi prince runs off with the money in the DeLorean. Little does he know, it stalls out over 22 miles an hour, so he's not getting far. But the car was stolen, so Morgan gets the Blue Book value, as discussed earlier. So now the CIA has the money. They've frozen all the assets of the Saudi prince, and now Sarah's father has to be arrested, but not before Sarah has a chance to talk to her father, and they have father-daughter talk, as normal of one as possible, and Jack's just like, hey, I know, I mean, that schmuck Chuck of yours is a good guy. He really cares for you. I see that you care for him, so I approve. In his own little way, he approves. And Sarah sends him out to go get some ice cream, so he can not be arrested, obviously. And right outside, he runs into Chuck. Chuck's talking to him, and then they see the cops pull up, and at that point, he's like, take care of my daughter. And Chuck's like, you know I will. He's like, hell yeah, I know you will. And Chuck tries to console Sarah at the end, and Jack is gone, off in the wind again. So that does it, folks. That is the end of Chuck versus the DeLorean. It's not really a major episode. It's kind of a filler episode, but we get to learn a little bit about Sarah's past, and we get some approval of Chuck by Sarah's her father. So it's a nice episode overall. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Especially the buy more part. The buy more part was pretty funny too. We got some good pop culture references, and I forgot the General Lee was there at the end too. Someone was selling the General Lee, which is pretty cool. So I mean, on that end, it was super pop culture-y referenced, and I like that. That's pretty funny. And then now we go into next week's episode. And it's a Christmas episode, so we'll get a little bit of Christmas in February. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this here podcast. I hope you share this podcast with others, and let's keep Chuck moving. Let's keep Chuck trending upwards in 2015. Once again, thanks for listening. Signing off, I'm Paul. Remember, everybody loves Chuck. Some people just don't know it yet.